First session. Over to you, Mr. Sagar Kurade.
Very good afternoon to all. We are gathered here today with regard to panel discussion on technology and automation implication for food industry. As you are all aware, food industry is one of the pillars of the Indian economy, contributing to 12% of Indian GDP and a major employer for the country. Having said that, before we talk on the topic, let me have the pleasure of introducing an esteemed panel here. I have Mr. Rajesh Agarwal, Director of Times Automation, as a panelist. I also have Mr. Manohar Mirchandani, founder of Dynamic Engineers, Mr. Girish Bajaj, Managing Director of Bajaj Process Pack Limited, and Mr. Mahesh Patil, Vice President and Business Head of Rico Industries Limited. I welcome all of my esteemed panelists to the panel discussion and look forward to a wonderful thought exchanges with regard to the topic, which is technology and automation implication for food industry. Before we start, it would be wonderful if we can quickly introduce each yourself individually, especially with regard to what your company does, so that our esteemed audience has a perspective on each one of you. Mahesh, starting with you, if you can share, followed by Girish, Manoharji, and Rajesh Agarwal. Please, Mahesh, go ahead.
Thanks, sir. Myself, Mahesh Patil. I am the Vice President and the Business Unit Head for Rico Industries Limited. Rico is in field from 1975, almost 46th year we are in this particular business. We are doing the business of grinding solutions, the grinding solution, air pollution control systems, and pneumatic conveying systems. This business has come a long way. Earlier, it was something like supplying of the machineries and equipments. Now we have come up with supplying the complete end-to-end solutions for the customers, and in the field of the spice grinding, food or basin grinding, all these solutions are being provided by Rico Industries. Attached to that, some auxiliary equipments like sterilizers and other products which we have been collaborated with the ETI in France. So with their help, we are providing those solutions to the industries, and that's how we help the customers. Apart from the food industries, the grinding solutions, they also require some pollution control equipments or the conveying systems. So there also we give the turnkey solutions for them. So it's something like the end-to-end solution, right from the cleaning of the spices to the grinding, blending, and till the packing solutions. We also are into the cryogenic grindings, wherein we help for returning all the required the aromas and other fragrances of the particle cells. So yes, we are helping the customers throughout the journey, and journey begins from standard equipments now to the complete turnkey solutions as per the customer's requirements.
Girish, if you can share a bit about your perspective companies, followed by Rajesh Agarwal, Manohar Mirchandani and Rajesh Agarwal.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on the panel list and sharing my views on the scope and of automation in the food industry. Myself, Girish Bajaj, and I am the Managing Director of Bajaj Process Pack Limited. Our company is over 33 years of inception, formed in 1988, is one of the leading companies involved in manufacturing and setting up of complete plant and machinery for mainly 4 segments. First, in for processing and packaging of fruits and vegetable industry, we set up plants for mango pulp, for tomato ketchup, for jams, for jellies, for salsas, for paste, puree, up to their packaging in pouches, cans, bottles, whatever. Second industry that we segment cater to is the beverage industry. We manufacture and set up complete plant on turnkey basis for processing and packaging of juices, water, coconut water, and other similar beverages which are widely packed up to packaging equipments in glass bottles, PET bottles, cans, and spout pouches. Third segment that we cater to is for milk processing. Here we do focus on only small farm level dairy equipments, and packaging equipments we set up for flavored milk packaging. We would for flavored milk in glass and PET bottles. And the fourth industry that we are segment that we are catering to is we also set up fresh fruits and vegetable processing setup for sorting, grading, packaging units. So in the past 33 years, it's been our privilege to be associated with the Indian food processing industry from a very nascent stage to a stage where today we are talking automations, we are talking large scale capabilities, and we are proud to be associated with this industry for so long. Besides India, we are also catering to almost about 30 plus countries across the world, specifically focused in the Africa region. So I'm happy that I would be able to share whatever little knowledge and experience I have in this industry. And thank you once again.
Lovely. Manoharji, if you can share a quick perspective within a minute or two with regard to your company, followed by Agarwalji, and then we'll move forward.
हेलो,
आपको सुनाई दे रहा है? Can you hear me?
अब दे रहा है, आपको सुनाई दे रहा है?
जी, थोड़ा बहुत in a minute if you can share your perspective of your company, आपकी कंपनी क्या करती है, एक मिनट में, and then
हमारी कंपनी डायनामिक इंजीनियर्स है, इंदौर बेस्ड कंपनी है। यहाँ हम जो है वो नमकीन, चिप्स और स्नैक्स इंडस्ट्री के लिए सॉल्यूशंस प्रोवाइड करते हैं, जिसमें एक्सट्रूडर्स, स्लाइसर्स, पीलर्स, ड्रायर, फ्रायर और इस टाइप की जो है वो डिफरेंट मशीनरी है। और ये सेमी ऑटोमेटिक से लगाते हैं, फुल ऑटोमेटिक तक के प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं। और बेसिकली सभी नमकीन इंडस्ट्रीज में अब मैकेनाइजेशन हुआ है, हो रहा है। पहले सब हैंड प्रोसेस हुआ करता था, अब बदलते बदलते जो है वो फुल ऑटोमेशन पे आ गया है।
जी, lovely, lovely. Agarwalji, if you can share your perspective of the company.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Sagarji, for providing me opportunity to be here on this platform with your team of learned people and experienced people of the industry. Myself, Rajesh Agarwal, Managing Director, Times Automation. We are basically based in Delhi, NCR. Specifically, we are in Bahadurgarh in Haryana. Our company is providing solutions for bulk raw material handling system and automation system and automatic batch weighing systems, specifically for food industry. We started with from the scratch in 1998. The company is founded by myself only, and our parent company was known as Sunita Industries, the traditional name you can see. Later on, it has been converted to Times Automation. Now we are providing solutions for all raw material and batch weighing systems with complete automation, end-to-end solution for raw materials. As of now, we are going to this only, and we are supplying all over India and across India also, specifically Africa, Northeast, even Mexico. So this is what we are doing.
Lovely, excellent. It's wonderful to see that our esteemed panelists are representing various sectors of the food industry, whether it is snack food sector, whether it is spice sector, whether it is fruit, vegetable, dairy, cereal, grains. Pretty much all sectors of food processing are represented through our esteemed panelists today. But one of the things that we all have to reflect on is that if you see the current situation that the industry has gone through in COVID, and compare it with independence, from the time period of independence, I would like the panel members to reflect on how exactly technology and automation has evolved over the last 75 odd years in India, from a point of view of how we were at the time of independence to now, how the industry is being looked at. So if any, Mahesh, starting from you, if any, feel free for any panelists to share that. I would especially like to hear thoughts from anyone who would like to share.
Sagarji, it was a really big changes in this particular food sector. If you see, if you are able to talk on spices, earlier the people used to ground it, keep it on the floor for drying it or cooling down. Now these things are being changing because a lot of restrictions from the government, food safety point of view, hygiene point of view. Basically, after the post-COVID, if you see, the hygiene factor has come into the account. So the people don't expect the manual handling should not be there. So right from the cleaning till you get a final product in the form of the granulations, everything has to be automized. Most of the not only automizations but the plant which you are supplying, those should be easy for cleaning. Then it should have the minimum downtime for that instant. So these changes are being happening, and customers are nowadays becoming more demanding, not because they wish to, but it is a compulsion now. They have to be the proper hygiene factor has to be there into the machineries. The machines should be easily cleanable, and these are really changing and adding the extra pressure on the industries. Yes, you have to cater these new demands which are coming into the market, and then we as a supplier has to understand the difficulties of the buyers who are in that field, the requirements, and change ourselves as per the requirement of the market.
I think one of the biggest changes that I have seen over the decades is that we have pretty much been going from an unorganized sector to an organized industry, and over time the scale associated with production of food products has also been going up and up. So the viability factors are also changing. Any thoughts, Girish, from your perspective on that?
Yes, Sagar, having been associated with the industry for about 30 years, I have been lucky to see the transition or the maturing of the industry, say from the 70s, 80s to the 90s and then so on. And since I'm the second generation entrepreneur, I've heard stories from my father, who was associated with this industry for another 40 years before, that this industry has really developed from post-independence days, where most of, if I specifically talk about the food processing, most of the cutting, chopping, slicing, all the peeling, everything used to be manual. Then even processes like cooking or other processes were kind of semi-automized with with a lot of man-machine interfacing done, and there was very little control over time, temperatures, and other automation. So it was more dependent on human efficiencies or the operator efficiencies, so as to speak. Therefore, even the end products used to be slightly deviated in terms of their consistencies, in terms of their other processes.
Yes,
yes. So from there to a point where, as on we speak today, and of course, COVID having made it almost a necessity today, from being a luxury, it is a necessity. We have to talk about automations. We have to talk about food safety. So in this, I see the transition has to come in. There is no other way for the industry. The industry has to transit. While it has already transited over the last couple of decades, post-COVID era has to be a compulsion for all the companies to very closely monitor their food safety, food traceability, automations, and also focus on less human touch and more automation from process to packaging. So yes, I'm looking at more of a hybrid man-machine model coming in now as it was from earlier.
Absolutely, Girish. So I totally agree. From a point of view of technology and automation, the more technology and automation, the more consistency, the more better quality from a point of view of food products. But having said that, Agarwalji, this question I would like to pose to you. You are into back handling of raw materials associated with automation, back-end automation associated with food industry. So what challenges do you have seen from a point of view of adoption of technology and automation when you are trying to recommend automation of a back-end raw material handling system to your clients? So I would like a perspective on the challenges you face from a convincing point of view. Per se.
No, that is really an interesting question, and this is the most challenging part of this industry. Whenever we recommend automation to any of our clients, they are a bit reluctant. Post COVID, now they are going for this automation and they are accepting this. But pre COVID, it was a big challenge actually to make them adapt this technology. They did not really want to go for automation. Normally, they were dependent on labor, but today labor is also not available. And post COVID, this has become actually bottleneck. Now the things are coming into line, and they are accepting it. Earlier, it was a big challenge.
Lovely. So let's talk a little bit about some interesting technologies and adoptions that you guys each have taken into account. I would like to pose this question to Manohar Mirchandani ji. As dynamic engineers, can you share, because you are primarily into snack food sector, into namkeen, bhujiyas and other, what are the new technologies that are emerging and new automation that are emerging within your snack food sector? I believe there is vacuum fry technologies that is emerging and extrusion technologies. So if you can throw some light on the new technologies within and automation emerging within the snack food sector. Mirchandani ji.
Earlier, the total namkeen industry was dependent on labor only, manual labor. In 80s, it started, the automation started, 90s, and now these years, we have been able to make all the products, most of the products on automatic machines, which were developed in India only. The recent development is the full automation of bhujia making machine, bhujia in the machine, full automation, right from the powder to spices and the water input, and then the final product is the bhujia. And there are different type of products like dals, pohas, and other products. They have different characteristics of related to frying. So for everything, every product, there is a different kind of machine. And we have developed such a machine where you just put the flour, water, and control it through the control system. It is needed online, it is fried online, and you can cool and then pack it directly. So this is the recent developments in the industry.
I guess one of the key things that we are finding as a trend in Indian market is the consumers in India as well as across the world are becoming more and more health conscious. So I am pretty sure, Mirchandani ji, you must have adopted technologies associated with less oil absorption, technologies where, where namkeen, bhujiyas are kind of less absorbed, more automation. Any reflection on less oil absorption related to frying technologies?
The product made on the continuous frying machines are already taking less oil in the product. If you make it on batch system or a manual system, the quantity made on the system is less, and the oil content is more. The continuous automatic continuous system, the oil content is less, and we can control it through the method in which it is made. The percentage of oil in the product, final product, to your choice. You can change. You can make less oil also.
Okay. Lovely. Mahesh, from your point of view, I know in spice processing per se, there are now new verticals. Traditionally, it was a traditional way of grinding spices, but that led to a lot of volatile oil evaporation and everything. And now people are looking at options associated with cool grinding and cryogenic grinding. Can you throw some light regarding these technologies related to, in comparison with each other?
Definitely. Both these parameters of grinding or cryogenic grinding is little bit different. When you talk of cryogenic grinding, it is grinding under sub-zero temperature of minus 153 or so. Doing so, it is meant for some specific spices where the oil content or heat sensitivity of those spices are on the higher side. So there we can retain your volatile oil, your flavors. Again, it helps into the grinding. So the grindability of that product increases. Also, you can increase on your shelf life. Similarly, if you go with the chilled air grinding, so where we take the atmospheric air, we cool down, maintain the humidity in the grinding line, and that also helps you in increasing your yield in terms of your moisture losses. It again, if you maintain the moisture, retain the moisture inside the product, the shelf life increases. Now customers have become very smart. They know they talk of yield, they talk of granulations, they talk of all the ingredients which has to be preserved inside your material. So cater that. These are the two new variant of the technology we called as a cooled air technology and a cryogenic grinding, which has been introduced into the market.
Any cost differential, Mahesh, between regular grinding versus cryogenic grinding and cool grinding from a cost and operational cost difference?
Yeah, operational cost difference is here because when you handle the liquid nitrogens, it has its own cost. Maybe something like 14 rupees per kg to 25 rupees a kg, depend on the location where you're putting up the plant. But while grinding, it adds to something like 40 paise or 50 paise per kg, which is the additional cost which comes. But you get a better fragrances, and you can cater not only for the domestic consumption but other applications also. Suppose for a human instant, if you say if you have the 4% of VO, and I am able to retain something like 3.5% of VO, that can go into the various applications like sodas or some topping or some seasonings. So that benefit
Absolutely.
customer can get in form of the value additions.
Absolutely. Girish, from your point of view, especially from fruit, vegetable, juices, pulp concentrate point of view, any new technologies that are emerging or being adopted from a point of view of ensuring better health, better quality of food products, better operational efficiencies? Anything to throw light on?
See, Sagar, as I mentioned earlier, in post-COVID, automation earlier was kind of a thing to be feared upon. Frankly, if I may put it very straight, it was more as if people considered it to be too expensive, too technically jargon, and only to be done when you want to reduce labor. Unfortunately, that is a myth. That is not correct. It is not that you just reduce labor. You actually increase efficiency. You actually increase food safety. So now what we're looking at is a trend emerging wherein we've been approached by many food factories who were there for decades and suddenly say, we've been doing this manual process which involved 10 people. Now we want to actually do this so that we can relocate these people to another section, but at the same time ensure that the human touch is the minimal. So from washing, let us say in the washing section, earlier it was considered to be a very common thing कि सब fruits आएंगे उसको हम manually wash कर लेंगे. That is no longer the case. People are talking about washing. People are talking about inspection systems. Even sorting grading systems have got automized, where color, size, all these are getting, and we're talking about farmer level FPOs connecting with us. Recently, an FPO in Srinagar connected with us and said, "Sir, the apple season is coming up, and frankly, we need something which will sort our apples 10 tons per hour." So that is it's become a necessity now. Similarly, in the processing section also, if you see in the open good old times, the open cooking systems were a prevalence across the industry. Now we want people are looking at vacuum technologies for cooking, for heating. Even vacuum evaporation is becoming a norm, where people have realized that you can save on energies, you can save on actual cost, and also increase the quality. It has been demonstrated that if, let us say, jam is prepared under vacuum, it will not only get cooked or prepared earlier, it will also, the quality will also be far more. So these kind of automations, these kind of advancements, and even in the packaging also, packaging is also a very integral part of the entire value chain of food. So in packaging also, we're looking at spout pouches, which have become a norm, especially in the ketchup jam industry. Earlier, it was all restricted to glass bottles. Then even new types of cans have come in. And again, people are shifting from manual to automation, again, to increase the efficiencies and to increase food safety. So this trend I see is here to stay and will continue as we speak, even post-COVID, hopefully, when we are all over all this COVID issues also. So that's
Absolutely, Girish. We have seen technologies. We have gone from solar drying technologies quite a few decades to freeze drying technologies today that are getting adopted, and vacuum drying obviously is helping in many aspects of it. And you're absolutely right. Vacuum technologies are essential from a point of view of improving quality, consistency of food products that are being adopted today in the industry. Agarwalji, from your point of view, let's talk a little bit from a point of view of role of artificial intelligence when it comes to production and sales in terms of automation associated with it. Can you talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence aspects of it from your line, machinery, production point of view? I know especially from the fact that, you know, sometimes in back-end mixing, say we are making biscuit plants. In biscuit, there has to be a measured quantity going into each dough batches that are getting produced. And there, each measured quantity has to be put in line, which a company like yours does. So please, if you can throw some light associated with the role of artificial intelligence in line and machine.
Yeah, artificial intelligence is basically a part of automation. We are into mechanical automation, but we also take help of this artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is helping us a lot in production as well as sales. How it helps? See, in production, artificial intelligence is helping us limiting our downtime of our machines. How it is helping? Because based on data availability, based on the performance of the machine, we are able to find out how to make the preventive maintenance, when to do the preventive maintenance. This is only possible with the help of this artificial intelligence. Then only automation is going to work perfectly. Similarly, for quality also, based on the pattern identification, which we can do with artificial intelligence, we are able to maintain the quality. Mainly, we are working into bakeries and confectioneries, wherein we can check the pattern of a biscuit or a toffee, which is as per our quality standards. So we take full help of artificial intelligence. In that case, we are able to maintain this quality as well as downtime. We are cutting it. And for sales, I am not much aware of it, but as far as I understand from a normal today's scenario, what we are doing, we are able to forecast demand. We based on the computer software, we know how to which part of the country requires what item. We can prioritize our sales actually, and similarly we can assess customer behavior. Which customer wants in which segment? We can identify this customer's behavior actually based on artificial intelligence. And I don't know much about artificial intelligence.
So I think the data dynamics associated with the sale definitely come into play. People going on digital platforms more and more has definitely come into play. it definitely helps us to understand with an integrated line and machinery coming into play. It definitely helps us for through artificial intelligence to understand whether the line machineries are in sync to ensure the material balance with regard to the entire line, and that definitely helps us.
Yeah, exactly.
Any thoughts from your side on artificial intelligence aspects associated with spice industry that you may have adopted?
Uh, yes, definitely. When you talk of the recipe making system, so definitely we can know the what is the stock in that particular grounded silos, and then every time you blend some material with the machines, it will be with no human interference. This machines works to have the uniform blendings or that quantity which you are specified. That only going to blend with your material. Same time, when you talk of taking the reports, what is my stock and how my process line has worked, where the problems came, those report also can be nowadays obtained from the artificial intelligence. You can operate your plant with remotely with help of your mobile. You can see all the datas. You can compile the datas. So this technology are in Indian field now, and we are also using making a good use of it, and it is helping the customers for that. Even they can show to their buyer abroad, "Ki this is what your stocks, this is what you have processed, this is your stock, and this was your stock number. So this is your production order will be going to complete in this much time." So all those things are happening, and our domestic customers are taking good use of it.
Absolutely. Girish, one of the things that we need to highlight is how the cost of production has been coming down due to adoption of technology and automation. In fact, this question is for the entire panel. Girish, starting with you, if you can share how the costs are coming down or cost implication with adoption of technology and automation.
Sagar, my take on this is that automation and automation and technology, the cost implication is not the only point. I mean, that is not the sole reason of doing so. But yes, at many places we have seen that overall, when the efficiencies go up, so automatically the cost will come down. So it also is dependent on the economies, economies of scale.
Economies of scale.
Yeah. So because when you automate something, when you do an automation, obviously the plant is able to do much more production in a lesser period of time, thereby increasing the efficiency overall. So that is where we have seen the cost of production coming down. The quality certainly has gone up. So that has no matrix on cost. Quality is beyond cost. So quality is also across board we have seen, and consistency. That is also a very important factor, which is a byproduct of automation, which also goes up considerably that we have seen over the years. So ultimately, any promoter or anyone who sets up these plants, the first thing that they would want to do is to calculate the ROI. That's the very basic fundamental way of doing business in India. So the first thing that comes to anyone's mind is, what is my return on investment? But people who do invest in such things have to say that there is a ROI cannot be simply calculated in cost, but also in quality, in efficiencies, and overall improvement of a plant and its output. So, from that aspect, the ROI index has to be measured in both these things, and especially when you're trying to cater to an overseas market, for example. Now, in overseas market, this is become, for example, I'll give you one of our customers was trying to export canned products to Middle East, and they were using, the 3-decade-old canning company, and very, very well known in the industry. I'll not share the name. And the customer said, "Can you share us the log details of retorting that you do?" And they said, "Sir, what is that?" So he says, "Unless and until you're able to do that, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you any orders." And they switched from a ordinary retort to a counter pressure retort, which was PLC controlled, which had a logger, which showed very clearly each of the batch, what pasteurization, sterilization time was achieved, for how long it was achieved, and how many batches was it done, what was batch 1, what was batch 2 and batch 3. After they were able to invest in this, the customer happily gave them the order, and now it's on their regular order list. So as I said, ROI should not just be calculated on कि साहब मैं कितने दिन में ये पैसा वापस कर लूंगा. That is not how it should be done. As prudent businessmen, entrepreneurs, people should look at investment on a more longer perspective and from a more hygienic perspective rather than just ROI. So that's my take.
That's absolutely a good point, because automation and technology not only it will help you with cost reduction, but also with regard to the operational efficiency of the plant. So operational efficiency will lead to a lot of cost savings associated with that, and therefore you will have a better ROI coming, return on investments coming into the plant. It's a wonderful point, Girish. Another question I want to pose to the panelists. I know we are running short of time, but one of the questions I would like is, we all have gone through a COVID situation with regard to that, and the government of India has given several support policies, has put several support policies to various aspects of the various verticals of the industries. But we haven't seen any policy support coming from a point of view of engineering industry or a fabrication or machinery supplier industry. So, I typically find that Indian industry, especially machinery suppliers, get stuck up in positioning themselves between a high-scale European plant to a low-cost Chinese machinery manufacturer, and that's the positioning. So I really feel that the machinery fabricators in India can be positioned to supply to the whole world, not just within India, and that day too will come. But for that to happen, what is the kind of policy support that you think would be required? Any panelists, feel free to share their thoughts, please. Mahesh?
Yes, sir. Post-COVID, it's really a difficult time. We know we all people in India are innovative. We can definitely compete with the China. But post-COVID, we have the typical scenario like increase in the raw material, labor going out. So a lot of issues were there in terms of matching with the deliveries are concerned. We feel that Indian government should do something. They have given the relaxation for MSME and other parts of the units, but definitely for the small player or the small industries where they require the support from the government, not completely in form of the money or the subsidy, but some other forms in terms of the tax relaxations or something like that. That will definitely help us in moving further for these industries.
Sagar, if I may just come in, just to add to what Mr. Patil just mentioned. See, we all know the governments are all burdened. Not only Indian government, across the world, all governments are burdened. COVID has really taken a toll on a lot of. So let us not look at some sort of a subsidies coming in anytime soon. That's nothing going to happen. So we are more Atmanirbhar there. But what I really feel the Indian government needs to do in a long-term, medium to long-term perspective is to follow the automobile industry model to create an ecosystem for the engineering industry. Now, I have traveled extensively across the world, and China specifically, whether we like it or not, we have to learn from these guys. How is it that these guys are able to produce so low? Besides the quality part, which we always know and talk about, is that they have a very big, huge ecosystem. If you talk about, I know of towns where, let's just say, a blow molding machine is made. There are 100 manufacturers stationed in that town, and there are 1,000 vendors, starting from a pneumatic manufacturer to a supplier of a body, to a fabricator who's doing the inside, to a powder coating unit, to a buffing people. So ultimately, it is the ecosystem that is needed. So look at the automobile industry. Why automobile industry is so successful where it is? That they have, wherever Maruti goes, Manesar and Gurgaon has an ecosystem of at least 500 vendors attached to them. Now, obviously, a Bajaj Process Pack Limited or a Rico Industries cannot expect its vendor to follow. What we need is a creation of a engineering hub or an engineering township where they say only engineering related industries can be set up, and we will provide X subsidy to anybody who comes in, invest in that, and there all the vendors can come together and the manufacturers will come together, and that is where every one of us will be able to realize or make the economies of scale, which is so important to take on the Chinese when it comes to the pricing. They beat us hollow when it comes to economies of scale, and that is something can only happen. I've visited a number of engineering units like ours in China, and trust me, it's not their in-house infrastructure that is beaten. My infrastructure is almost equivalent, if not better, to many of the industries I've visited. Is the ecosystem that beats us hollow. Sitting in Delhi NCR, I don't have an ecosystem. I'm sure Mr. Patil, probably in Pune, they are lucky enough to have some better ecosystem because of the Tatas and the Bajaj of the world having created one. But most of the industry across India doesn't have. So that is one very important thing that Indian government should support in medium to long term perspective.
Yeah, and I agree, because not only from a point of view of capital subsidy, if at all government can consider, but also these production link incentives that government has now introduced. Even the fabrication industry or machinery supply industry or those in technology and automation related equipments, they are also manufacturing, and because they are manufacturing, there can be some production link incentives that can be probably be offered to them, especially as they are looking to scale up and ensure that their clients' expectations are met. So I think that will be also a good suggestion going to Government of India. Mirchandani, from your point of view, we know a lot of startup initiatives have happened in India now, and government is also looking at farm level interventions associated with food processing industry. So any suggestions from your scale point of view, what would you suggest to the industry in undertaking at farm level or from startup India initiative? आप क्या suggest करेंगे अपने तरफ से?
गवर्नमेंट ने जो है वो छोटे स्टार्टअप को हमारे जैसे मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के थ्रू प्रमोट करना चाहिए. लो प्राइस पे उनको मशीन्स मिलना चाहिए, लो प्राइस पे उनको जो है वो जगह मिलना चाहिए काम करने की, और फिर लॉजिस्टिक्स और मार्केट और उसके लिए. तो स्टार्ट में जो है वो कैपिटल ज़्यादा न लगे, ऐसा कुछ मॉडल बनना है.
Lovely. I think we have just run out of the time, as I have been told, but I welcome all the viewers. In case of any questions to any panelist, feel free to email it to the organizers or to us as knowledge partners at sfc@sumanfoodconsultants.com, and we'll be happy to share back a revert from each of the panelists. With that, I like to thank each of my panelists for their wonderful thoughts and suggestions on various aspects of food industry. We know we are short of time. Unfortunately, we have exceeded our time, and I would love to have a discussion more, but hopefully another day, another session on the same. With that, thank you so much to all the panelists. Wonderful thoughts.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
This indeed was an extremely fruitful session. Thank you, Mr. Sagar Kurade, and all our panelists for sparing this time for us.